I was staring at my wife's iPad when my entire world shattered. It wasn't intentional snooping. At least, that's what I told myself. The device had been sitting on our kitchen counter for 3 days, chirping with notifications while Ashley was supposedly on a girls' wellness retreat in Sedona. She'd taken her phone but left the tablet behind. And that morning, a text preview lit up the screen just as I walked past with my coffee. "Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you inside." My hand shook so badly I nearly dropped my mug. The message preview cut off there, but I'd seen enough. The sender's name was just D with a heart emoji. I stood frozen in our kitchen, the same kitchen where Ashley and I had shared breakfast that very morning 3 days ago, where she'd kissed me goodbye and told me she loved me, where she'd promised this trip would help her reconnect with herself. The February sunlight streaming through our Denver condo windows suddenly felt cold. My name is Tyler Brennan. I'm 34 years old, a systems analyst for a healthcare company, and up until that moment, I thought I had a pretty good life. Ashley and I had been married for 6 years, together for 8. We had a nice place in Capitol Hill, decent jobs, and were actively trying for our first baby. Or at least, I thought we were trying together. I picked up the iPad with trembling fingers. The device wasn't locked. It never was at home. Ashley had always been the relaxed one about privacy, often leaving her devices lying around, sometimes even asking me to check her messages when she was driving or cooking. That openness had been one of the things I loved about her. One of the many things I'd apparently been wrong about. I opened her messages. The conversation with D went back 4 months. 4 months. I scrolled to the beginning, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. The early messages were innocent enough. Work stuff, it seemed. Ashley was a marketing director for a boutique fitness chain, and D appeared to be someone she'd met at a conference in November. The messages started professional, discussions about brand strategy, social media metrics, industry trends. Then, around mid-December, things shifted. "You look amazing in that dress. Couldn't take my eyes off you during the presentation." "Stop, you're terrible." "But thank you." "I'm serious. Coffee after the session?" I remembered that conference. It was in Chicago, right before Christmas. Ashley had come home excited, energized, full of ideas for her company. She'd been glowing, and I'd attributed it to professional success. She'd even brought me back a deep dish pizza from some famous place, and we'd eaten it in bed while she told me about the panels she'd attended. She hadn't mentioned coffee with anyone named D. The messages progressed rapidly after that. Flirting became explicit. Explicit became planning. By January, they were meeting regularly, or at least, that's what the messages indicated. Hotel rooms. Lunch breaks that ran long. A work dinner that I specifically remembered because Ashley had come home at midnight, slightly tipsy, telling me the client had insisted on celebrating a closed deal. There had been no client. I sat down hard on one of our kitchen bar stools, still scrolling. My coffee grew cold beside me, forgotten. The most recent messages were from yesterday. Ashley had sent photos. Nothing explicit, thankfully, but suggestive enough. Her in a hotel robe. Her by a pool in the bikini I'd helped her pack, the one I'd told her looked beautiful. The messages talked about how D had driven up to Sedona to surprise her, how her friends had covered for her so they could spend time together. Her friends knew. That realization hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just Ashley's betrayal. Her entire friend group, women I'd known for years, women I'd hosted at our home, bought birthday gifts for, made small talk with at parties, they all knew. They were actively helping her deceive me. I checked the time. It was 9:47 a.m. on a Thursday. Ashley wasn't due back until Sunday evening. I had roughly 3.5 days before she walked back through our door, probably refreshed and smiling, ready to resume our normal life like nothing had happened. like she hadn't been sleeping with someone else for a third of our marriage. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from my boss asking about a project deadline. Normal life, continuing on around me while mine imploded. I ignored it. I needed to think. I needed to plan. But first, I needed evidence. I grabbed my own phone and started taking photos of the iPad screen. Every message, every photo, every damning piece of proof. My hands were steadier now, operating on autopilot while my brain tried to process the emotional nuclear bomb that had just detonated. Halfway through screenshotting the conversation, another message came through. Missing you already, babe. These 3 days apart are going to kill me. Can't wait until you're back and we can figure out our next move. I meant what I said last night. I'm ready when you are. Our next move. Ready for what? I scrolled back through recent messages with fresh eyes, looking for context. And there it was, from 2 nights ago, after what appeared to be several drinks based on the typos and excessive emojis. I think I'm going to tell him when I get back. You're right. We can't keep living like this. It's not fair to anyone, especially not Tyler. He deserves to know the truth. He deserves someone who's all in, and I'm just not anymore. I haven't been for a while. So she was planning to leave me. The text message sat on my screen like a loaded gun. Can't wait to see you tonight. Room 412, same hotel. I'll bring the wine. I stared at the timestamp. Sent yesterday, Wednesday evening. My hands were steady as I navigated to Ashley's email app. She'd always been careless with security. Same password for everything. No two-factor authentication despite my nagging. The kind of digital hygiene that made my systems analyst brain itch. Now I was grateful for her sloppiness. Her inbox loaded. I scrolled past promotional emails, work correspondence, newsletters she'd never read. Then I found it. Confirmation email from the Hilton Garden Inn, Austin, Texas. Booking for 2 nights, checking in tomorrow, Friday. Room type, King Suite. Guest name, Ashley Brennan. Austin, not Sedona, not a wellness retreat with the girls. I took another screenshot. Then I opened her calendar. Virtual team strategy session, 2 p.m. Friday, blocked out 3 hours. Below it, in smaller text, debrief with Grant afterward. Grant. Her team lead. I'd met him once at a company holiday party. Mid-30s, expensive haircut, the kind of guy who called everyone chief and talked about disrupting the fitness space. I pulled up her work Slack on the iPad. She stayed logged in on all her devices, another security vulnerability I'd mentioned a dozen times. The direct message thread with Grant filled my screen. My coffee had gone cold. I didn't care. The messages went back months. Professional at first. Campaign strategies, budget approvals, client feedback. Then gradually shifting. Inside jokes. Late-night messages about nothing important. Compliments that lingered too long. Then, 3 weeks ago. Can't stop thinking about Chicago. We should probably talk about what this means. Chicago, the November conference. Her response. I know, I haven't stopped thinking about it either, but it's complicated. It doesn't have to be. Grant. I'm serious, Ash. What we have, this doesn't happen every day. I scrolled faster, my heart hammering against my ribs. Booked us a room for Friday. Austin location near the office. We can say it's for the strategy session, do the virtual call from there, then have the whole weekend. Won't people wonder why we need a hotel room for a virtual meeting? Who cares? We're both remote that day anyway. And I want real time with you, not stolen hours between meetings. You're making this very hard to resist. Good. Stop resisting. The next message was a photo, a screenshot of the hotel booking confirmation, the same one in her email. I set the iPad down carefully on the kitchen counter. My hands had started shaking again. 4 months with someone from the text messages. But the work messages told a different story. Grant wasn't D. This was someone else. Someone from her actual office, someone she saw regularly, someone who had access and opportunity and apparently zero shame about booking hotel rooms on what I assumed was a company card. Unless I picked up the iPad again, pulled up her contacts, scrolled to the D's, David, Diane, Derek. I tapped Derek. The contact card opened. Full name, Derek Grant. My vision tunneled. Derek Grant. D with the heart emoji, her team lead. The man who approved her vacation requests, signed off on her travel expenses, collaborated with her on campaigns. The man who'd driven to Sedona to meet her while I sat at home thinking she was doing yoga and getting facials with her girlfriends. I went back to the Slack messages, screenshots flying now, my phone's storage filling with evidence. Tyler suspects something. He's been asking questions about my schedule. What kind of questions? Just noticing when I'm home late, asking about work trips, nothing specific, but he's paying attention. So tell him. You said you were going to anyway. I will, after this weekend. I want one more trip with you before everything explodes. It doesn't have to explode. We can handle this like adults. You don't know Tyler. He's going to be devastated. He'll survive. People do. The casual cruelty of it made my teeth ache. I checked the time. 10:23 a.m. Friday's virtual meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. tomorrow. They'd both be logged in from the hotel room, pretending to be in separate locations, conducting company business while between the sheets. An idea crystallized in my mind. I opened my laptop, pulled up my own work calendar. Cleared my afternoon tomorrow. I had flexibility as long as projects stayed on track. Then I navigated to Ashley's work email again, found the calendar invite for the strategy session. The meeting was hosted on Zoom. Standard corporate account, probably set up by their IT department. The invite included the meeting link and password. I copied both into a secure note on my phone. Then I went back to the Slack messages, scrolling to the most recent ones. Landing in Austin at noon. Want to grab lunch before the call? Can't. Have back-to-back until 1:30. Meet you at the hotel at 1:45? Perfect. I'll check us in. Separate key cards this time. Last hotel. The front desk gave me a look when I said one was fine. Paranoid much? Careful, there's a difference. Fine, separate keys, but you're still staying in my bed. I screenshotted it all. Then I opened a new browser tab and searched for information about Zoom meeting recordings, host controls, participant permissions. My systems analyst background had taught me plenty about virtual meeting platforms, security vulnerabilities, access protocols, the difference between what software claimed to protect and what it actually secured. I spent the next hour researching, taking notes, planning. Ashley's company used a standard Zoom business account. The meeting would be recorded automatically if Grant enabled it as host, which he probably would, since it was technically a work strategy session. Those recordings saved to the cloud, accessible to meeting hosts and, depending on settings, certain administrators. But participants could also record locally if the host allowed it. And even if he didn't, there were workarounds. Screen recording software, virtual audio cables, a dozen different methods I'd used for legitimate work purposes. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., I'd be an uninvited participant in their virtual meeting. My phone buzzed. A text from Ashley. Morning. Just finished the most amazing sunrise yoga session. Sedona is incredible. Miss you. The heart emoji. The same one Derek used in his contact name. I typed back, sounds beautiful, glad you're having fun, love you. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then appeared again. Love you too. Can't wait to come home and tell you all about it. I set the phone down and returned to my laptop. There was work to do, preparation. I needed to understand every technical aspect of what I was planning. No room for error, no chance of getting caught before I was ready to reveal myself. Because tomorrow at 2 p.m., I wouldn't just be listening to their private debrief. I'd be watching, recording, documenting every word, every look, every moment they thought was secret. And when the time was right, when I had everything I needed, I'd unmute myself and detonate their entire world. My coffee was ice cold now, but I took a sip anyway. Barely tasted it. I had 28 hours to prepare. I got to work. The minutes crawled by like hours. I sat at my kitchen table, our kitchen table, though I was already starting to think of it differently, staring at my laptop screen. 11:43 a.m. Still over 2 hours until the meeting. I'd already done everything I could think of to prepare. Screenshots organized in folders by date and conversation thread. Video recording software tested and ready. My microphone muted, camera disabled. I'd even created a fake Zoom account under a generic name, James Wilson, and set the profile picture to a corporate stock photo of a smiling middle-aged man. The meeting link Derek had sent Ashley worked perfectly when I tested it. No password required. Sloppy operational security, but then again, they had no reason to suspect anyone would be looking. My phone buzzed. Ashley. Morning. Just finished the most amazing sunrise meditation. Feeling so centered and grateful. Heart emoji. Namaste hands emoji. The sheer audacity of it made my jaw clench. She was probably still in bed with him, maybe ordering room service, laughing about how easy it was to fool her trusting husband. I typed back, "That's great, babe. Glad you're getting what you need from this trip." Every word tasted like ash, but I needed her relaxed, unsuspecting. Miss you, though. Can't wait to see you Sunday night. Kissing emoji. My hands were shaking. I set the phone down before I could type what I really wanted to say. 1:37 p.m. I opened the Zoom link 20 minutes early, joining with video and audio off. The waiting room appeared. Just me, James Wilson, sitting in digital limbo. My heart hammered against my ribs. 1:48 p.m. A chime. Derek Grant joined the meeting. His video clicked on, and there he was, mid-30s, dark hair styled with too much product, wearing a crisp button-down shirt. He looked exactly like the kind of guy who'd use words like synergy, unironically. The background behind him was clearly a hotel room. I could see the corner of a bed, generic landscape art on the wall, the particular quality of light that came through hotel curtains. He admitted me from the waiting room without hesitation. Just another team member joining the call. 1:51 p.m., another chime. My stomach dropped. Ashley appeared on screen and everything in me went cold and hot simultaneously. She was wearing a white blouse I'd bought her for Christmas. Her hair was down, makeup perfect. She was smiling at Derek, not at the camera, at him, with an expression I'd seen 1,000 times. An expression I'd thought was reserved for me. "Hey," she said, her voice warm and intimate even through my laptop speakers. "Give me 1 second. I need to grab my notes." She stood up, and the camera angle shifted. Same hotel room. Same background as Derek's feed. They weren't even trying to hide it. They were sitting at the same desk, probably thinking no one would notice or care. 1:58 p.m. 2 more people joined. Melissa Chang and Robert Palmer, according to their display names. Colleagues, presumably. Their cameras turned on, both clearly in home offices, bookshelves, and plants visible behind them. "Afternoon, everyone," Derek said, his voice shifting into professional mode. "Thanks for making time on a Friday afternoon. I know Ashley's technically on PTO, but she wanted to dial in for this strategy discussion." "Wouldn't miss it," Ashley said brightly. She was back on camera, a notebook open in front of her, playing the dedicated professional. The Q2 campaign is too important. I wanted to vomit. 2:01 p.m. Derek started screen sharing, a presentation deck about social media engagement metrics. Melissa and Robert chimed in with questions and comments. Ashley contributed ideas about influencer partnerships. It was surreal, watching them perform this elaborate charade of normalcy while sitting together in a hotel room in Austin, probably planning what they'd do the moment the call ended. My cursor hovered over the unmute button. Not yet. I needed the perfect moment. 2:17 p.m. Derek advanced to a slide about budget allocations. "Let me just pull up that spreadsheet," he said. His screen sharing flickered as he switched windows. And that's when it happened. For exactly 3 seconds, before the spreadsheet loaded, his desktop was visible. And there, in the corner of his screen, was an open Chrome browser with multiple tabs. I could read them clearly. Omni Austin Hotel, Reservation Confirmation, and Weekend Getaway Ideas Austin. My breath stopped. Robert must have seen it too. Derek?" Robert's voice had a strange quality. "Your screen? Got it. 1 sec." Derek fumbled, the spreadsheet finally filling the screen. But the damage was done. The chat box lit up. Melissa, typing to everyone. "Was that a hotel confirmation?" Silence. Ashley's face on camera went pale, then flushed deep red. That's from a different trip," Derek stammered. "Old tab. I should have closed." "The date said this weekend," Robert said flatly. Ashley's camera clicked off abruptly. This was it. This was the moment. I unmuted myself. "The Omni Austin Hotel," I said, my voice cutting through the confusion like a blade. "Reservation for Derek Grant and Ashley Brennan. Check-in yesterday. Check-out Sunday morning. King Suite with Hill Country views. Confirmation number 847392B. Dead silence. 4 squares of frozen shock on my screen. "Who?" Derek started. "I'm Tyler Brennan," I said. Each word came out measured, controlled, though my hands were trembling. "Ashley's husband. The one she's been lying to for 4 months while she's been sleeping with her team lead." Ashley's camera clicked back on. Her face was sheet white, eyes wide with horror. "Tyler, don't." The word came out harder than I intended. "I've read every text message, every explicit photo, every plan you two made. I know about Chicago. I know about the other hotels. I know your friends have been covering for you. I know you plan to tell me Sunday night that you're leaving." Melissa and Robert's cameras clicked off in rapid succession. 2 chimes. They'd left the meeting entirely. "Tyler, please, let me explain." Ashley's voice cracked. "Explain what?" I could hear the tremor in my own voice now, the rage pushing through the control. "Explain how you looked me in the eye every morning for 4 months while you were planning your next hookup? Explain how you texted me about sunrise meditation while you were in bed with him?" Derek had gone gray. We should take this offline." "Oh, we're taking it offline," I said. "We're taking it straight to HR, and to Ashley's phone, where I'm texting her divorce attorney's contact information right now." I wasn't bluffing. My other hand was already typing on my phone. "This is a private personnel matter," Derek tried. "Nothing's private when you're stupid enough to conduct your affair during a recorded company video call," I said. "Zoom records everything by default for your organization, Derek. Did you forget that? Or were you too busy thinking with something other than your brain?" Ashley made a sound like a wounded animal. "Tyler, please, I love you." "You love me?" The laugh that came out of me was ugly. "You have a funny way of showing it." 4 months, Ashley. 4 months. My phone buzzed. The text had gone through. I'd sent her the name of the best divorce attorney in Denver, along with screenshots of her and Derek's messages. "I'm done," I said. "I'm done being the fool who trusted you. I'm done pretending we have a marriage. And Derek? I hope she was worth your career because I'm forwarding every piece of evidence to your HR department, your boss, and anyone else who needs to know that you've been sleeping with a direct report and using company resources to facilitate your affair. You can't, Derek started. Watch me. I clicked the red Leave Meeting button. The Zoom window closed. And then I sat there, in the sudden silence of my kitchen, staring at my reflection in the black laptop screen. My hands were still shaking. My heart was racing. But underneath the adrenaline and rage, there was something else. Clarity. My phone started ringing. Ashley. I declined the call. It rang again immediately. Declined. A text appeared. Tyler, please let me explain. I'm so sorry, please. I blocked her number. Then I opened my email and started composing a message to the HR director at Ashley's company, attaching the carefully organized folders of screenshots. The Zoom window froze on Ashley's face, mouth open, eyes wide. That particular shade of crimson that comes from being caught in a lie so massive, it collapses your entire world. Then the screen went black as she killed her connection. One by one, the other participants dropped off. The VP of marketing, the social media manager, the content strategist. Within 30 seconds, I was alone in the meeting with Derek, whose camera had also gone dark, but whose connection remained active. I could see his name tag, still there, still present. You still there, Derek? I asked conversationally. Or are you too busy explaining to my wife why you couldn't keep your tabs organized? His connection terminated. I sat back in my office chair, heart still hammering, hands still shaking from the adrenaline. The recording indicator in the corner of my screen showed that Zoom had captured everything. Every word, every gasp, every horrified face as I'd read out the Hilton confirmation number and checkout date. But I wanted insurance. I wanted permanence. I pulled up the meeting recording from the cloud. Zoom auto-saved everything to Derek's account since he'd hosted. His company used a standard enterprise setup, and I'd done enough systems analysis to know the vulnerabilities. Most companies used default security settings. Most employees used predictable passwords. Most IT departments were understaffed and overwhelmed. I opened a terminal window and started working. Derek's company email followed a standard format. First initial, last name, at company domain. His LinkedIn profile had given me everything else I needed. His full name, his position, his company. The rest was just patience and the kind of technical knowledge you pick up after a decade in IT. 30 minutes later, I had access to the meeting recording. Downloaded, backed up to 3 separate drives, and uploaded to my own secure cloud storage. The video was perfect. Crystal clear footage of Derek's screen share, the hotel booking tabs, his fumbling attempt to close them. Ashley's face in that little Zoom square, going from flirty to frozen in under 2 seconds. And the audio. God, the audio was even better. You know, working with you is the best part of my week. Derek's voice, warm and intimate, from just before I'd unmuted. Just my week? Ashley, teasing. That tone I used to think was reserved for me. Every day then, every hour. I isolated that section, created a clip. 30 seconds of pure, undeniable workplace affair. Then I pulled up the company's organizational chart, publicly available on their website, and started compiling email addresses. The HR director, the VP of People Operations, the Chief Operating Officer, the CEO. I crafted the email carefully. Professional. Factual. Devastated husband discovers wife's affair with her direct supervisor. Concerned about workplace ethics violations. Concerned about potential favoritism, conflicts of interest, hostile work environment for other employees who might have noticed. Attached, the video clip. 30 seconds. That was all it would take. My cursor hovered over the send button. This would destroy Derek's career. Marketing team lead conducting an affair with a direct report? That was termination worthy at any company with functioning HR. Ashley would likely face consequences too. Maybe not termination, but definitely reassignment. Definitely a mark on her record. I thought about the last 6 years. The marriage I'd believed in. The family we'd been trying to start. The life we'd built together in our Capitol Hill condo, the inside jokes, the lazy Sunday mornings, the way she'd looked at me on our wedding day. I thought about 4 months of lies. 4 months of late meetings and team-building events and wellness retreats. 4 months of her friends covering for her, laughing about it, helping her deceive me. I clicked send. The email whooshed away into the digital void. No taking it back now. But I wasn't done. Derek's work laptop, the one he'd been using for the Zoom call, was still connected to the internet. I could see it on my network monitoring tools, could trace the connection back to the Hilton's Business Center Wi-Fi. Hotel networks were notoriously insecure, and Derek had made a critical mistake. He'd clicked on a link I'd embedded in the Zoom chat during my confrontation, a link disguised as meeting notes that had installed a small payload on his system. Nothing illegal. Nothing that would access personal data or steal information. Just a simple script that would make his next few days very, very annoying. I triggered it remotely. Derek's laptop would now receive approximately 10,000 spam emails over the next 72 hours. Subscription confirmations for every newsletter, mailing list, and promotional service I could find. His inbox would be unusable. His system would slow to a crawl processing the incoming flood. Every virus scanner and malware detection tool would light up like a Christmas tree. It wasn't a DDoS attack. That would be illegal. This was just aggressive email marketing, perfectly legal, perfectly deniable, and perfectly infuriating. My phone started buzzing, Ashley calling. I declined it. She called again. Declined. A text message appeared. Tyler, please let me explain. I deleted it without responding. Another call, this time from a number I didn't recognize. Probably Derek. Declined. Then a call from Megan, Ashley's best friend and chief accomplice in the deception. I almost declined that one too, but curiosity got the better of me. You need to calm down, Megan said the moment I answered. No hello, no preamble. What you just did was insane. What I just did was reveal the truth, I said calmly. In front of witnesses, using evidence that Ashley and Derek provided themselves. You humiliated her in front of her entire team. She humiliated our marriage in front of her entire friend group for 4 months. You helped. Silence on the other end. Tyler, I know you're hurt. Don't. My voice came out harder than I'd intended. Don't tell me how I feel. Don't tell me to calm down. You knew. You all knew. You helped her lie to me while I was at home thinking about baby names. She was going to tell you. After one more trip, one more hotel room, one more lie. I laughed, and it sounded bitter even to my own ears. Tell Ashley that she can collect her things from the condo next week. I'll have my attorney contact her about the divorce proceedings. And Megan. Lose my number. I hung up. My hands had stopped shaking. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by something colder. Something more focused. I pulled up the contact information for the divorce attorney I'd researched yesterday. Patricia Lawson, specialist in high-asset divorces, with a reputation for aggressive representation. Her office was in downtown Denver, and her website promised free consultations. I called. Got her assistant. Explained the situation in broad strokes. Discovered affair, evidence collected, need to file quickly. Ms. Lawson has an opening Monday morning at 9, the assistant said. Can you bring documentation? I have video, text messages, photos, timeline analysis, and financial records showing hotel charges on our joint credit card, I said. Will that work? A pause. That will definitely work. We'll see you Monday. I hung up and looked around my home office, the space Ashley and I had set up together when we'd bought the condo. My desk, my monitors, my carefully organized cable management and ergonomic chair. She'd always worked from the kitchen table when she needed to, preferring the open space. This room was mine. This condo was half mine. And I'd be damned if I was giving it up without a fight. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Ashley. I'm coming home tonight. We need to talk face to face. I typed back. The locks will be changed by 6 p.m. Your belongings will be packed and available for pickup next week with 24 hours notice. All communication goes through attorneys from this point forward. Her response came immediately. You can't lock me out of my own home. I could, actually. I'd already checked Colorado law. In cases of marital breakdown, either spouse could change the locks. She'd have to file a motion for access, which would take days. By then, I'd have everything documented, secured, and protected. Watch me, I typed back. Then I blocked her number. The weekend stretched ahead of me like an endless void. Saturday morning arrived with that same cold February sunlight, and I found myself sitting in the same spot at the kitchen counter where everything had detonated just 48 hours earlier. My phone buzzed. Not Ashley. I'd blocked her number Friday night after the 17th attempt to call. This was Kevin Palmer, the divorce attorney I'd contacted through a referral from a colleague who'd been through his own messy split. Can you come in Monday at 10 a.m.? Reviewed your documentation. We need to discuss strategy. I confirmed and set the phone down. Strategy. Like this was a military operation instead of the systematic dismantling of 8 years of my life. The doorbell rang at 11:23 a.m. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, I saw Megan standing in the hallway, her arms crossed, her expression somewhere between defiant and uncomfortable. Ashley's best friend, the one who'd helped orchestrate this whole charade. I opened the door but left the chain engaged. Tyler, we need to talk. No, we really don't. Ashley's losing her mind. She has nowhere to go. You can't just lock her out of her own home? Her home? The laugh that came out of me was sharp enough to cut. The home she was planning to abandon? The one she badmouthed to her affair partner while discussing how quickly she could extract herself from this marriage? Megan's jaw tightened. You violated her privacy. You went through her phone, her messages. She left her iPad unlocked on the kitchen counter. My voice was flat, mechanical. A notification popped up. From there, it was just following the breadcrumbs she left scattered everywhere because she never thought I'd look. Because she thought I was too trusting, too stupid, too comfortable to notice. She made a mistake. 4 months isn't a mistake, Megan. 4 months is a choice. Multiple choices, actually. Every lie, every wellness retreat, every time you and the others covered for her, those were all choices. Her face flushed. I was being a good friend. You were being complicit in destroying someone's marriage. There's a difference. I started to close the door. Tell Ashley her stuff will be in storage. She can coordinate pickup through her attorney. I'm done being accessible. Tyler, wait. I shut the door, heard her stand there for another 30 seconds before her footsteps retreated down the hallway. My hands were shaking again. I pressed them flat against the door until they steadied. Monday morning, Kevin Palmer's office occupied the 14th floor of a glass tower downtown. All clean lines and expensive minimalism. He was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with the kind of sharp-eyed assessment that made me understand why my colleague had recommended him. Colorado is a no-fault divorce state, he explained, spreading my printed screenshots across his desk like evidence at a crime scene. Which means the affair itself won't determine the divorce outcome. However, it absolutely matters for other aspects. I nodded, trying to focus through the exhaustion. I hadn't slept more than 3 hours any night since Thursday. The condo is in both names. Joint ownership. We bought it 4 years ago. I put down 60% of the down payment from an inheritance. She contributed 40. Kevin made notes. Do you have documentation of that? Bank statements, wire transfers, everything. Good. What about her current living situation? She's staying with Derek, I assume. Or maybe she went back to one of her friends. I shrugged. Not my problem anymore. Actually, it might be. She could argue you illegally locked her out of her primary residence. In Colorado, even if your name is on the lease or deed, you can't just change the locks without proper notice during a separation. Something cold settled in my stomach. She committed adultery in our home. Doesn't matter legally. If she pushes this, a judge could order you to provide her access or alternative housing. He held up a hand before I could explode. But given the circumstances and the fact that you're filing immediately, we can argue exigent circumstances and emotional distress. Most judges won't force you to cohabitate with a spouse who's been unfaithful, but we need to be prepared for her attorney to make noise about it. Fine. What about the home office equipment? I work from home. All my systems, my setup, everything's there. That's my livelihood. We'll argue for you to retain the residence based on your employment needs and the fact that you have greater equity in the property. She's employed outside the home, which works in our favor. Kevin leaned back. Now, let's talk about the conference call incident. My jaw tightened. What about it? You joined a private business meeting under false pretenses and recorded it. Depending on how her employer handles this, there could be legal ramifications. Colorado is a one-party consent state for recording conversations. True, but you weren't originally a party to that conversation. You inserted yourself. He studied me. I'm not saying it'll definitely be a problem, but if her company decides to make an issue of it, or if she claims harassment, we need to be ready. I exposed an affair between a supervisor and his subordinate. That's a massive HR violation on their end. Agreed, which is probably why they won't push it. But the email spam you sent to Derek's work account? That could be construed as harassment or even cybercrime, depending on how aggressive you were. I'd sent approximately 300 emails Friday night, all signed up to various spam lists and promotional services. Petty? Absolutely. Illegal? Apparently, maybe. I was upset. Understandable, but we need to be strategic, not emotional. No more contact with Derek. No more technical retaliation. Let the HR investigation and their internal processes handle him. You focus on protecting yourself and your assets. I nodded slowly. The vindictive satisfaction I'd felt Friday night was already curdling into something that tasted like regret. Not for exposing them, never that, but for potentially giving them ammunition. What's the timeline look like? Kevin pulled out a folder. We'll file the petition this week. She'll be served, probably at work unless you have a better address. Then there's a 91-day waiting period before the divorce can be finalized. That's Colorado law, non-negotiable. During that time, we'll negotiate asset division, and if you two can agree on terms, we can potentially avoid a trial. And if we can't agree, then we go before a judge and let them decide. But that extends the timeline significantly and costs a lot more money. He met my eyes. My advice? Document everything, stay calm, and let her make the emotional mistakes. You've already got the high ground. Don't lose it by doing something stupid. I left his office at 11:47 a.m. and sat in my car in the parking garage for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed. An email notification from Ashley's work address. My finger hovered over it for several seconds before I opened it. Tyler. I know you've blocked my number. I know you don't want to hear from me. But I need you to understand that what happened on that call was humiliating and cruel. You destroyed my professional reputation in front of my colleagues. Derek has been suspended pending investigation. I've been placed on administrative leave. I made mistakes. I know that. But you didn't have to burn down my entire career to make your point. I need to get my things from the condo. I need access to my clothes, my documents, my personal items. You can't legally keep me out indefinitely. Please, can we handle this like adults? A. I read it 3 times, felt the familiar anger rising, then Kevin's words echoing in my head. Stay calm. Let her make the emotional mistakes. I forwarded the email to Kevin without responding. Then I opened a new message to the storage facility I'd researched over the weekend and reserved a unit, large enough for whatever she'd need to take. I'd pack her things myself if I had to, box up every trace of her and hand it over through attorneys. Handle this like adults. She'd handled our marriage like a teenager sneaking around behind her parents' backs. But fine, I could be the adult here. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Tyler Brennan? Speaking. This is Janet Kowalski from Elevate Fitness Corporate HR. I'm calling regarding the incident that occurred during a virtual meeting last Friday, involving your wife, Ashley Brennan, and our team lead, Derek Grant. My heart rate kicked up. Okay. We've completed our preliminary investigation. I wanted to inform you that we take workplace relationships between supervisors and subordinates very seriously, particularly when they create conflicts of interest or hostile work environments for other employees. I waited. We'll be implementing disciplinary action for both parties involved. I can't share specific details due to privacy concerns, but I wanted you to know that your report has been taken seriously and thoroughly investigated. Understood. Thank you. Additionally, if you have any further documentation or evidence relevant to our investigation, please feel free to forward it to this number. She gave me an email address. I wrote it down, though I wasn't sure I had anything else to send. When I hung up, I felt hollow. Not vindicated, not satisfied, just empty. The conference call revenge had felt so righteous in the moment. Watching Ashley's face freeze on screen, seeing the shock ripple through their colleagues, unmuting myself to roar out every detail I'd discovered. It had felt like justice. Now it just felt like I'd detonated a bomb in the middle of my own life and was standing in the crater wondering what came next. The weekend after my meeting with Kevin Palmer, I sat in my home office, our home office, though I'd stopped thinking of it as ours, and did what I do best. I analyzed systems. I found vulnerabilities. I exploited them. Ashley had called 17 times since Friday. I'd blocked her number after the 5th voicemail devolved into screaming about how I'd humiliated her and destroyed her career. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd destroyed our marriage, our future, our plans for a family. But sure, I was the villain for making sure her colleagues knew exactly who they were working with. Derek had been smarter. No calls, no messages. Just a single email Sunday morning with the subject line, "We need to talk." I deleted it without reading past the preview text. My attorney had been clear. No direct contact with either of them. Everything went through lawyers now. But there was one thing Kevin didn't need to know about. One thing that had nothing to do with the divorce proceedings and everything to do with making sure Derek understood exactly what he'd cost himself. I pulled up the recording of Friday's meeting, the one where I'd unmuted myself and watched their world implode. The company used a platform called MeetSpace, and like most corporate software, it had security theater instead of actual security. The recording sat on their cloud server, accessible to anyone with the meeting link and a participant ID. I'd been a participant. I had the link. The file downloaded in 43 seconds. MP4 format, 2 hours and 17 minutes long, starting from when Derek had initiated the call. I opened it in editing software and scrubbed through to the good parts. Derek's screen share at 1:34:22, showing 3 browser tabs, one for the quarterly report, one for their Slack conversation, and one for the Marriott booking confirmation. My voice at 1:35:08, cold and precise as I read out the reservation details. Ashley's face at 1:35:15, frozen in that perfect moment of horror when she realized what was happening. I clipped a 3-minute segment. Derek's flirting, clearly audible as he complimented her presentation skills, while his screen showed their messages about meeting in his hotel room. The hotel tab popping up. My interruption. The scramble as people started dropping from the call. Then I did something that would have gotten me fired from my own job if anyone found out. I logged into the MeetSpace admin panel using credentials I'd acquired from a security conference last year. Found the original recording in their system. Replaced it with my edited version, looped to play the incriminating 3 minutes on repeat for the full runtime. Anyone who downloaded that recording now, HR, upper management, whoever, would get 2 hours and 17 minutes of Ashley and Derek's affair playing on repeat. The flirting, the hotel booking, the confrontation, over and over. I saved the changes and logged out. Covered my digital tracks the way I'd learned to do over 15 years in IT. Then I composed an email. to rawsummitfitness.com. CC, legal, asummitfitness.com. Ethics, asummitfitness.com. Subject, formal complaint, workplace relationship violation and supervisor misconduct. To whom it may concern, I am writing to formally document a workplace relationship between Ashley Brennan, marketing director, and Derek Grant, senior marketing manager, her direct supervisor, that has been ongoing for approximately 4 months. This relationship represents a clear violation of your employee handbook's policies regarding supervisor-subordinate relationships and creates a hostile work environment for other team members who may feel pressured to cover for or accommodate their affair. Attached, please find the recording from the February 16th marketing team meeting, which contains evidence of 1. Inappropriate workplace communications between a supervisor and direct report. 2. Use of company resources, meeting time, screen sharing, for personal relationship coordination. 3. Deceptive practices regarding business travel, personal trips disguised as work functions. I trust your HR and legal teams will review this matter thoroughly and take appropriate action to ensure Summit Fitness maintains professional workplace standards. Regards, Tyler Brennan. I attached the edited recording file directly to the email. 3 minutes, looped, impossible to miss. Then I hit send. The second part took more technical knowledge but less moral ambiguity. Derek's work email was publicly listed on Summit Fitness's website, standard practice for senior managers. His laptop would be company-issued, which meant it ran their standard security suite, which meant it had the same vulnerabilities as every other corporate machine I'd penetrated during security audits. I didn't need to hack his laptop directly. I just needed to make his digital life miserable. I set up a script that would send him an email every 3 minutes, 24 hours a day. Each email came from a different randomly generated address. Each one contained a different subject line. Some looked like legitimate work correspondence, others like spam, all designed to slip past basic filters. The body of each email contained a link that, if clicked, would attempt to install a browser redirect that would send him to Ashley's LinkedIn profile every time he tried to open a new tab. But the real beauty was in the volume. 7,000 emails over the next 2 weeks. His inbox would become unusable. His filters would choke. His IT department would spend hours trying to trace the source, only to find the messages originated from compromised servers scattered across 14 countries. I couldn't give him a virus. That crossed a line into actual criminal territory. But I could absolutely make his work laptop into a nightmare of productivity loss and IT tickets. The script launched at 3:47 p.m. on Sunday. By my calculation, he'd open his laptop Monday morning to find approximately 96 emails waiting. By Monday afternoon, that number would be closer to 200. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. The rational part of my brain, the part that had spent 6 years building a life with Ashley, that had trusted her completely, kept asking if I'd gone too far. If this was who I wanted to be. The rest of me remembered her face in those text messages. The casual way she'd discussed our marriage like it was an inconvenience. The friends who'd helped her lie. The 4 months of coming home to someone who kissed me goodnight while planning her exit. My phone buzzed. Not Ashley this time. I'd blocked that number. This was a text from an unknown number. Tyler, this is Jenna Costas from Summit Fitness HR. We received your email and the attached recording. I need to speak with you regarding the formal investigation we're opening. Please call me at your earliest convenience. I saved the number but didn't respond. Kevin had told me not to engage with Ashley's company without him present, but the text confirmed what I'd hoped. They'd received the email. They were taking it seriously. Another buzz, different number. Mr. Brennan, this is Phil Warren, General Counsel for Summit Fitness. We need to discuss the recording you submitted and how it was obtained. Please contact our office immediately. That one made my stomach drop. General Counsel meant they were worried about liability, about how I'd gotten into their meeting, how I'd recorded it, whether I'd violated wiretapping laws or corporate espionage statutes. I forwarded both messages to Kevin with a single line. They're responding. What do I do? His reply came back in 90 seconds. Nothing. Don't call, don't text, don't engage. I'll handle it. This is exactly what we expected. I set the phone down and returned to my monitors. The script was running smoothly, emails dispatching to Derek's inbox at precise 3-minute intervals. The MeetSpace recording sat on their servers, my edited version ready to play for anyone who accessed it. Ashley's career was imploding. Derek's work life was about to become digital hell. And I was sitting in my home office, the one I'd keep according to Colorado's equitable distribution laws, watching it all unfold with the same detached precision I brought to debugging code. My phone buzzed again. Kevin this time, calling instead of texting. They're going to threaten legal action, he said without preamble. Summit's lawyers will claim you violated federal wiretapping statutes and accessed their systems without authorization. Don't panic. Colorado is a one-party consent state, and you were a participant in that meeting. The recording is legal. What about editing it? A pause. Did you edit the content or just the length? Just trimmed it down to the relevant parts. Nothing fabricated, nothing taken out of context. Then we're fine. Editing for clarity doesn't constitute falsification. But Tyler, his voice shifted, took on a harder edge. Tell me you didn't do anything else. Tell me you didn't access their systems beyond downloading that one recording. I thought about the replaced file on their server. The looping video. The script currently flooding Derek's inbox. I downloaded the recording from the meeting I participated in, I said carefully. That's all they can prove. That's not what I asked. It's all they can prove, I repeated. Kevin sighed. If they find evidence of unauthorized access, you could face criminal charges. Computer fraud, unauthorized access to protected systems. These are federal offenses, Tyler. I can't protect you if you've crossed that line. Understood. I'm serious. Whatever you're thinking about doing, whatever revenge fantasy is playing out in your head, stop. Right now. The divorce is going in your favor. Don't give them ammunition to turn this around. I looked at my screens. The script running. The emails sending. The digital warfare I'd launched because the legal system moved too slowly and hurt too little. I hear you, I said. Hearing me and listening to me are different things. Kevin's voice softened slightly. I get it. I've been doing this for 23 years and I've seen what betrayal does to people. But the best revenge is walking away with everything you're entitled to and building a better life. Not destroying yourself trying to destroy them. We hung up shortly after. His words echoed in my office, competing with the quiet satisfaction of watching my script execute flawlessly. I had a choice to make. Pull back, play it safe, let the lawyers handle everything. Or keep pushing, keep making them pay, and risk everything I'd built. My cursor hovered over the script's kill switch. The script ran for exactly 47 more minutes before I killed it. Not because of Kevin's warning, though that rattled around my skull like a stone in a tin can. Not because I suddenly found forgiveness in my heart for Ashley or Derek. I stopped it because somewhere around email number 32, I realized I was turning into someone I didn't recognize. I'd spent 15 years in IT building systems, solving problems, making things work. Now I was using those same skills to tear things apart. And the worst part? It felt good. That scared me more than any legal threat. I deleted the script, removed my access to Summit's servers, restored the original meeting recording to their cloud storage, covered my tracks as thoroughly as I knew how, then wiped the tools I'd used. By 9 p.m. Sunday night, there was no evidence I'd done anything beyond downloading a recording of a meeting I'd legitimately attended. The divorce took 7 months. Ashley fought me on everything: the condo, the furniture, even the kitchen appliances we'd bought together. Her attorney painted me as controlling and vindictive. Mine presented the text messages, the hotel receipts on our joint credit card, the timeline of lies. Colorado's no-fault statute meant the affair itself didn't determine the split, but it colored everything else. I kept the condo. She got half the equity, which I paid out over time. I kept my home office equipment, my retirement accounts. We split everything else down the middle with the cold precision of accountants dividing assets. She never apologized. Not once. Not in any of the depositions or mediation sessions. She maintained that I'd violated her privacy and sabotaged her career. Her lawyer tried to argue I owed her compensation for lost wages, since Summit Fitness had terminated both her and Derek 3 weeks after my HR complaint. The judge wasn't sympathetic. Derek disappeared from social media entirely. Last I heard through mutual acquaintances, he'd moved to Phoenix and was working in a different industry. Ashley stayed in Denver but switched to a smaller marketing firm. We never spoke again after the final hearing. Her friends, the ones who'd covered for her, who'd helped orchestrate the lies, sent me a few angry messages in those first weeks. Megan called me vindictive. Jessica said I'd destroyed a good woman over one mistake. I blocked them all and never looked back. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't heal on a schedule. A year later, I still had moments where I'd see a couple laughing in a coffee shop and feel that sick twist in my gut. Still had nights where I'd wake up at 3 a.m., replaying every moment I'd missed, every sign I'd ignored. But I also had mornings where I drank my coffee in my kitchen now, just mine, and felt something like peace. I dated occasionally, nothing serious. Most first dates ended when I explained why my last relationship had ended, and I saw that flicker of concern in their eyes. Was I the wronged party, or the crazy ex-husband who'd crashed his wife's work meeting? Depended on who was telling the story. 2 years after the divorce finalized, I got a message on LinkedIn from someone named Rachel Winters. She'd seen my professional profile, was impressed by my systems analysis background, wanted to know if I'd be interested in consulting work for her cybersecurity firm. We met for coffee to discuss the contract. She was direct, funny, asked pointed questions about my technical skills. Didn't mention my personal life at all. 3 meetings later, the consulting gig turned into a job offer. 6 months after that, coffee meetings turned into dinner dates. I told her everything on our 4th date. The whole story. The iPad notification, the screenshots, the Zoom call confrontation, even the parts I wasn't proud of. The script I'd almost let run. The revenge I'd almost taken too far. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Do you regret it?" she finally asked, confronting them like that. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I regret how much space it took up in my head afterward, I said. I regret letting anger drive me to places I shouldn't have gone. But exposing the affair? No. They made choices. I just made sure those choices had consequences. Rachel nodded slowly. My ex-husband cheated on me for 2 years. I found out when his girlfriend called me to ask if we were really getting divorced, because he told her we were separated. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I didn't confront him publicly. I just filed papers and walked away. Sometimes I wonder if I should have made more noise, made sure people knew who he really was. Would it have changed anything? Probably not, but it might have felt better in the moment. It did, I admitted, for about 48 hours. Then it just felt empty. We got married last fall in a small ceremony in the mountains. No big production, no wedding party full of friends who might secretly be covering for infidelity. Just us, an officiant, and Rachel's parents. I don't think about Ashley much anymore. When I do, it's not with anger or longing, just a kind of distant curiosity about the person I used to be. The one who trusted completely, who never checked phones or questioned late meetings, who built a life on the assumption that love meant honesty. I'm not that person anymore. I verify things now. I ask questions. I pay attention to inconsistencies. Rachel understands. She does the same. We have each other's passwords not because we don't trust each other, but because we both learned what happens when trust becomes willful blindness. The scar tissue is still there. Probably always will be. But scar tissue is stronger than regular skin. It has to be, to protect what's underneath. If there's a moral to this story, it's not about revenge or justice or even trust. It's simpler than that. People will show you who they are if you're willing to see it. The hard part is accepting what you see and deciding what you're going to do about it. I chose to burn it down and start over. Some days I think that was the right choice. Some days I'm not sure. But it was my choice, made with open eyes, and I live with it. That's all any of us can do.